All right, we got a lot going on today, so um, got a lot of West Virginia guys here. Had a high school coaches clinic. Um, really good turnout for that. So they came in on we're here all day Friday and left this morning, and then big recruiting day for us as well. And so a lot of people out in the stadium. This is the second Saturday, I should say, that we got in the stadium, and so I thought we had really good energy. Special teams, um, our punt team got some really good looks with. We have Big 12 officials here today, and so anytime we can do that in the stadium, it's game like, and we're able to do that. Competition period, special teams. We're making strides special teams wise. I'm pleased with where we're at on that side of the ball. And then we went about 35 live reps with the ones and about 30, maybe not quite 30 with the twos. Twos were a little bit limited, just what we did, just because we had those young quarterbacks out there because Nico was sick. Um, I thought, just starting on defense today, I thought our defensive line had their best day. Sean Martin, I thought he showed some flashes of what he can be, which is a great run defender and a guy that can apply some pressure in the pass game, and both, with his speed and with his length, getting push on the pocket. And Day Hawkins had a nice day. Thought our noses, Hammond Russell and Mike Lockhart, like we need those guys, those D tackles, interior D tackles. We need those guys, and they're both playing. They're kind of playing into shape, and I thought they showed today. Bartlett had a couple pressures. He's playing more efficient with his movement. He's controlling his body better. And then Josiah Trotter and James Hurd. They flashed today. They missed some plays too because played a little bit out of control. But you saw some flashes from them. And then Keyshawn Cobb and Aubrey Burks and Marcus Floyd's made some improvement there at safety. Offensively, had a couple offensive linemen out. I thought C.J. Donaldson got some in the live work. I think he had 4 or 5 carries, and he's if he'll continue to work on his body and stay healthy, he's got big time ability. He really does. He's an extremely smart football player, and he showed that today. He had a couple really had a couple explosive runs and showed good patience. Man, he's a load to tackle. Garrett got all the ones with Nico being out and hit some nice runs. Wasn't as accurate passing as he had been to this point. He'd been really, really accurate. Wasn't as accurate today. And then I think our tight ends have had more catches. That's been a point of emphasis. Will Dixon's a guy that's coming along. Cole Taylor made a couple huge catches in Thursday's practice, so pleased with them. And then receiver wise, Devin has played well. We didn't use him a ton today, but he's played well. And then Preston Fox had a couple nice plays in the stadium as well. And so that's kind of a little bit of rundown. You all ask questions, and I'll try to fill you in on the rest of it.
So continue on a little bit with the wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen and they talked a lot about Devin, but so not only him, but the whole group. The depth situation there, finding the guys that you want. What do you think?
So Cortez is coming along. Not his best day today, but he's been consistent. We've caught the ball really well. That's obviously been an issue in the past, but we've caught the ball really well to this point in spring ball. And Cortez is he's going to be I think he's going to be one of our most improved players once we get to the fall. I think he's going to be a guy we can count on. We've talked about Devin. Jeremiah Aaron needs to continue to come along. He's got big play potential, and he's got to put it together and be an every down guy. Hudson Clement has had a nice spring to this point. Jarrell Williams is getting better. And then, I think that Rodney was out at practice today. He's going to have opportunities. He's going to have opportunities. He's got to get it. He's got to gain some weight and get stronger. But in fall camp, he's going to have some opportunities in the slot to be able to help us. And we need to go get one. We need to add a receiver as well.
With Rodney, obviously, I'm sure you'd love to pull them off sideline, put them on the field, but can you even hand him a playbook, a workout schedule? What can you do with the kid before they get here?
Yeah, so it's real clear what you can and can't do. So they can come to practice. They're not. You can do Zoom meetings with them. There's ways to get them caught up. Coach Mike is able to give them a workout, and they follow that workout. Now he's done with basketball for him. Try to leave the guys alone. Like we had a bunch of guys that are not coming till May that do basketball. The other receiver, Traylon Ray, played basketball. Now he's in baseball. And so Mike and his staff do a really good job working with those guys that are in spring sports to not overwhelm them. But now like Rodney, he's out of basketball and he's doing the program, and I think you'll see him gain weight, and we've got plenty of time for him to learn what to do. So I'm not concerned about that.
Challenging running these practices when you're blending in ones with guys that normally don't play and trying to mix match and get the looks that you're looking for.
Yeah, so I think what you have to do in spring ball, much more so than fall camp, you can't get caught up at looking at the whole unit. And what I mean by that, John, is like, all right, today with the first offense, you kind of had some different guys. We're breaking in some new experience at center, right? So, you might have a play in a run play that was really well blocked, but our snap was off, so our back never gets to his aiming point. Well, it's frustrating because you're not getting yards, but at the same time, you got four other O linemen plus the tight end that got a really good rep on that play. So you just gotta be careful not to get really caught up. I learned a long time ago not to be emotional after spring practices. Like good or bad, because it's really about growth. It's about getting better, and sometimes it's not going to be a lot of clean football. Because your timing's a little bit off, or maybe you got guys that are injured, or maybe you lost something from the previous year. You hadn't had a chance to replace it yet. So I think you got to just be careful not to look at the whole thing and really look individual-wise who's getting better.
As you mentioned at the start of spring practice that analytics had shown you all some places that you needed to improve, some of those little things, fundamentals like that. Do they kind of quantify, hey, if we can be X more efficient in these areas, say alignment, assignment, those kind of things, that translates to points? How do you measure what your success has been?
Yeah, so what we've really paid attention to is like West Virginia since joining the Big 12. What's equaled success, wins, and then we've taken some other teams that are similar that are in our league and looked at what's equated to wins for them. And it's not perfect, Kevin, because the trend could change in a year, but the things that we've really been focusing on is like, let's say drive starter, so your first play in a drive. Like that's something offensively that we weren't as good at. Year before we were really good on the first play, initial play of a drive. We weren't as good last year. So that's something that we really emphasize with our players. We quantify it, we show it to them the next day, and try to stress the importance of them. And you got to explain why. And because I don't have it right in front of me, but there is direct correlation between averaging 5 or more yards, okay, and a certain percentage within a game equals into this many points, right? And so that's what we've done. We've got some goals that we want to hit, explosive plays being the same way. And so you explain, okay, this is why we're doing this. This is why we're measuring it. And, okay, here's where we were today. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how we've gone about it. And I can't guarantee you that it's going to, if we're above 50% on drive starters, we're going to do it. But all I can say is if you look at the data going back to 2012, that's what it's been.
How were you today, penalty-wise, handling the ball-wise? Was it a clean scrimmage in terms of?
Yeah, so from a penalty standpoint, once we got in the team section, it was pretty clean. We did a perimeter drill when you all were there, and that's when it was a half-line drill and you all were there. And you're working on really the receivers and tight ends blocking, and you're working on your second and your third levels on defense, tearing off blocks. I thought we were a little grabby. And I tell those officials that are here, I'm like, hey, err on the side of throwing the flag during these kind of individual group periods. And so I thought our receivers were a little grabby in that period, and our DBs, the flip of that in one-on-ones with receivers versus DBs, I thought our DBs were a little grabby. But I thought operation-wise, we had one procedure penalty on the offense. Didn't have any turnovers, and so during the live piece of it, there were some turnovers or takeaways, depending on which side of the ball you're looking at during our group stuff. But during a team, it was pretty clean for practice 7.
Are you worried at all about you talking about explaining situations to them and how important first down is, third down, red zone, etc. Paralyzing them with too much. I mean,
Oh, no, listen, Bob, they're not out there thinking about, hey, on first down, we got to get 50%. They're not thinking about that. Here's what I mean by that, because it's a good way you bring it up. So let's talk about like third and medium. So third and medium, third and 4, we treat 3 a little bit different, but let's say just for this purpose, third and 3 to 6, right? We categorize that defensively as a third and medium. Well, like we've got a way we communicate it from the sideline that it's third and medium. Well, what you hope is when you teach it in the winter, this is what we've gone back and done. We've taught it in the winter. We're teaching it in meetings, and then we're practicing it. And every time we're practicing, we're talking about it. And so you hope after you go through all spring, all summer, all fall camp, you get in the season, it's third and 4, and they're thinking, okay, hey, the offense tends to try to play the sticks, so quick game, screens, RPOs. So linebackers need to think being RPO windows. That's what you want to click over. Does that make sense? Like some of the like drive starters and things like that, they're not necessarily like constantly during practice thinking about that.
out there though thinking third and 4 rather than.
Yeah, they got to know because for instance, so like third and 4 on offense is your mentality doesn't change, but third and 9, you need to know like if I'm playing left tackle and it's third and 9, I got to know because it's going to change what they're doing. And so what I mean by that is third and 9. Hey, if I'm a tackle, then I've got to know the guy's probably going to be a little wider rusher, and then I'm going to see some twist games. And so by knowing the down and distance, yeah, that does matter.
You mentioned that makes sense that you've looked at the data of West Virginia and the Big 12 and how to turn things around and what you need to do to turn things around. Do you ever also look at other teams that have had quick turnarounds? Like, for example, one benefit that I even could imagine would be a benefit in recruiting, you might have had a disappointing season, but a team in your conference who's not a blue blood just got in the national title game after the year prior they had a rough year. So do you ever also look at what TCU, for example, did? How could they turn that around so quickly?
Yeah, and the unique.
Rosters are different.
Yeah, no. The unique thing about what TCU did, and we've talked about it with our team, is they were a significantly better football team with not a significant different roster.
Right.
Like if you start thinking about the guys that they added, right? So they added the tight end from Texas, who was the backup tight end at Texas. They added a corner from Louisiana Monroe. They added a safety from Colorado, and they added a linebacker from Navy, and then they brought a center in from SMU. Those were kind of their, waiver wire, free agency, whatever you want to call it. But they lost an all-conference D lineman to Nebraska. They lost an all-conference running back to Ole Miss, and they may have some more losses. But I think the lesson to be learned from TCU is how much better the guys on their current roster got between the end of fall, whatever that was, 21, until playing the national championship game. I think that's the story. We use that. But, yeah, even, like, looking at, like, Kansas State men's basketball, I think there's carryover. You look at how the answer is yes. I'm giving you a long answer. But the answer is yes. Like, you study any of those groups that made a quick turnaround. I think Kansas State, they're fresh in my mind in men's basketball. What they did, like, what a great year those guys had, and they turned that roster over really quickly.
One more on
with their main player coming from Arkansas State or Arkansas Little Rock, excuse me.
On one more in a scrimmage, touchdowns of team, have any touchdowns? In the
Yeah,
team?
yeah. Let's see. Who caught that one up the seam? Hudson. Yeah, I was just bragging on him. He caught a touchdown, and then CJ had one. One of the other running backs had one too. I'm Yes.
That seems fun, productive for coaches. What did you observe watching that?
Yeah, so it's the third. We've done it. We did it Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And then I thought offensively, what we're trying to do is like we've got to be better on the perimeter, and so it's a way in a quick amount of time. Like that period's 6 minutes, and I think we get 19 or 20 reps, and so each side, 9 or 10 on each side. And so I thought on Thursday the receivers did a really good job for the first time understanding what we wanted to get done as far as tempo, their aiming points for their blocks, and then finishing their blocks, giving whoever we're throwing the ball to a chance. And I thought today defensively, the offense wasn't bad, but I thought the defense was more aggressive, and I thought they did a better job getting off blocks. And so that gives you an idea kind of what we're trying to do.
What's different about having C.J. Donaldson now versus around this time last year? Because he didn't even have a legit position really around this time last year, and kind of had his coming out party in the backyard brawl that casual fans probably didn't even know who he was prior to that. But now everyone's well aware of C.J. Donaldson. You're talking about his body needs to be to that level to be that guy. But what's different about having him on the team, coaching him now? What is he? What kind of different about even teaching him now to be ready that hey, you're not going to surprise coaches anymore?
So he really, and y'all have heard me say this, like we expected him to play. I just expected him to play more of a slot, really. When we recruited him and signed him, because I knew physically he was going to be ready to play. He just ended up playing a different position than we initially thought. And his coming out party was the first full scrimmage in the fall camp. He was running with the second and third group going against our first defense, and they couldn't tackle him. And I told Chad, I was like, well, I think we're on to something here. And then his breakout game for sure was at Pitt. And so having him in fall camp, when you have someone that's got elite ability, it lifts the others around you. Because they know, they see some of the things he does. Now, he's got to stay healthy. His practice habits got to get better. But the other guys around, they know, like, man, the kid's got a chance. And so what he does is he lifts those other guys up. And I think, too, is with him is growing his game, right? And I always have to remind myself, and I tell our staff, like he doesn't have all these reps logged, right? Like he hasn't been playing, so like every full speed, and I don't want to get him tackled a bunch, but every full speed rep he gets, like he's going to continue to get better. And now, just from a memorization and knowing what to do, like we can move him around and do what he's done his whole life, which is catch balls and run routes. And because he's done that, where it's usually the opposite for running backs. Does that make sense? Like usually they get all these reps on inside runs and outside runs, and you got to train them to catch balls and how to run routes. It's the exact opposite for him.
Yeah, sometimes even years into their career.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's been a few years for the guys you recruited out of Europe. How have you seen them develop versus just regular high school recruits?
Yeah.
Coach Jackson talked about Edward on.
Yeah, Eddie V's a dog, man. I love that guy. He can play, and he's the same every day. He's consistent. He works he works extremely hard. He's got a great motor, which is one of the best compliments I can give a D lineman. He's been really good on special teams for us. He's coachable. You can go over something in a meeting room or a walkthrough, and he's going to do it, and he doesn't repeat mistakes. Jai is probably over a 3-year period, maybe has made as big a jump football-wise, like understanding the game, as anybody we've had. He's going to be a plus special teams player for us, and I think he continues to develop. He'll be a guy that will give some defensive snaps. Victor, this is a big spring for him. He's got to continue to come on. And then Ollie, I mean, you guys thought he had a tremendous freshman year, and he'll only build off of that.
You mentioned this is the practice number 7, so you're basically halfway through.
Yeah, it happens fast.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, you got a lot of them here, but where do you go from here to say the next time you get them out on the field for a team in the stadium?
So what we'll do is we'll practice Tuesday and Thursday this week, and then we'll take a break, which I like doing kind of right in the middle of it. So they'll get a 4-day break, and then we'll come back, and then they get 2 more opportunities, the spring game being one of them. And so what we'll do is the first 6 days was a lot of individual, a lot of group, and then we'll start getting into more 11-on-11 work, because then it becomes we should understand what to do, alignment and assignment, so we should be able to play fast. And now it's about getting team reps, and you get reps in your schemes and you get evaluations.
What do you think of your young offensive line?
So, just starting, I think Johnny Williams, who just got here, now he won't play for us in the fall, but, he is what we thought he was. And he's a long guy that has twitch, and he's really smart. So pleased with him. I thought he showed on Thursday, he has a couple really good pass sets, and that's something he hadn't had to do in high school, and so excited about him. I think that Mo Hamilton's got a lot of ability, and we just need he just needs reps. You talk about a guy that when we start doing a bunch of team, he's going to benefit because he needs those. And then I think that, let's see, who else I wanted to hit on. Oh, man. Greg put it on me there. I tell you, so the guys that, and I talked about this in preseason, is Sully, Sullivan, Weedman, and Mo. And so Sully's really good plays. He reminds me, I'm not putting pressure on him. Like, he reminds me very similar to where Tomas was this time a year ago, where like his good plays, you're like, hey, I like where he's at. And then his negative plays, which are all fundamentally based, he gets, those are really bad. And so if we can clean up some of, like, he gets his hands wide sometimes, so he loses hand leverage. He wants to put his head down sometimes, which good D linemen, they swim. So if we can clean those things up, he's going to be a guy that can for sure help us.
You mentioned memorization for CJ.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're not the first person to talk about the way that he picks things up and make recall. I understand that's unique. What is that about him, and how does it help in a time like this where we can't do a ton of physical stuff, but we also don't want to be overwhelmed mentally with this so much?
Yeah, first of all, he's got just general intelligence, and then he understands sports. I've never asked him this, but I'd be willing to bet that he played a lot of different things growing up, and they were well coached at Gulliver too, and they moved him around a bunch, but he just got a natural feel for understanding, like, the spacing elements. What's hard in the pass game is understanding, like, if you're the first or second or third. And then so there's a timing aspect and the space aspect. And so where he's been doing that, because you think about where he's located, they can play 7-on-7 year round. So he's got all that, so he understands that. And he just takes in information. I think that goes back. He enjoys sports, and he's an intelligent person, so he learns quickly.
Kind of unusual to practice 3 days in a row in the spring, right? You have a day or two in between.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's kind of on purpose because you planned that way, but anything you're looking for?
So in total transparency, like, Thursday was a real practice, Saturday was a real practice. We do the practice on Friday, and it's really just for the coaches in our coaches clinic. They make you have 3 helmet practices where you can wear helmets and spider pads. A lot of people do them the day before the spring game, and so we don't do that. We don't practice the day before spring game, so we just do it for our coaches clinic. And so yesterday what we did is all fundamental work, and we did a bunch of special teams, like circuits where we're working special team circuits. So everything that we did in the practice yesterday was really for the high school coaches in attendance. It was things that they could carry over and take back. And it's not a wasted day for us by any means. because we get a lot of fundamental work in, but it's not doesn't stress the guys. It's not physical for the O lineman, and it's not running for the skill guys.
You mentioned specialists. Any of those guys a kicker, kickoff, anything like that standing out?
Yeah, we didn't punt the ball as well. I'll tell you who's had a quiet, good spring is Bechtel, Leighton Bechtel, and I was talking to the officials when we did our field goal period today, so I can't speak on that. Now Hayes he's powerful. Yeah, he is powerful, and I think he's only missed one the entire spring so far. So I can't speak on today.
How are the running backs doing blocking wise?
Yeah, so we can get better. Get better. We put more on them today blocking, and so I'll be able to speak on it a little bit better next week. But that's a point of emphasis. Pass protection, they're fine. They haven't been asked to do it until really the spring. So, some of the perimeter stuff and some of the stuff where they're blocking for each other, we got to get better at.
You've mentioned a couple times the winter workouts. What exactly, is that brand new this year, more hands-on? What could you do?
You can, I think, I don't know, 2 years maybe. You got meetings, and then you got walkthrough time. And so what you can do is there's more teaching. There's more teaching you get done in the winter than it used to be. You can have a ball, and the meetings, we really changed up how we were doing it from a meeting standpoint, just doing some more situational teaching because I thought that was something that lacked last year. So doing some situational stuff and then really focused first 4 weeks on some fundamental things. Last 4 weeks got our schemes installed for the spring.
You started off by saying, especially on the defensive side, you want to focus on the fundamentals, get back to the basics. Coach Leslie said the same thing. It's been said repeatedly. Few weeks in now, how would you evaluate that? Did you feel like that's been a positive? Have you successfully got back to the basics?
So I think we're doing a better job staying our gaps defensively. That comes down to pad level and using your hands. So if you hear me, there's two types of leverage. There's pad leverage and there's hand leverage. And so on D-line play, they're good and bad, but today I thought that we held our gaps better than what we had. Linebacker wise, we have way less wasted movement. Okay, so we're getting downhill where they're more decisive and we're not wasting movement. And then we've taken a lot off our secondary, and so they're playing faster because they're thinking less, and their technique's improving. Are we where we want to be? No, absolutely not. I'm glad we got 8 more practices. I'm glad we got OTAs in the summer. I'm glad we got fall camp. But there is carryover, because what you want to do is, from a fundamental aspect, you drill it, you put it in a group setting, you drill it, and then it's got to show up in team. And so, just watching it from the back today, I thought it showed up more so than it did when we did some 11-on-11 work on Tuesday.
One more on CJ.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of his background, kind of unique to the versatility, but also the profile you want to have in the spring,
Mm-hmm.
even the fall. Spring's really important, but also in here, but he's out there doing stuff. Just, I guess, going into the expectation of what he could do, what you want him to do, but also how important it was for him to do anything while he was doing out for you.
Yeah, well, I think the TCU game when we played is when he got hurt, and that was the last football time he had. So you think about it, he didn't start doing any running back stuff till late in June, and so he just needs live reps. And when I say live, I'm not mean tackle to the ground, but he needs playing against the defense, feeling blocks, reading blocks, and so that's why the spring's important to him. We're gonna do our best to take care of him. But he needs those reps running the football because he's only going to continue to get better.
One more on CJ, actually. A couple of us were watching them do the drill with the medicine ball where it's kind of mimicking pass blocking. When CJ did that, it just sounded different. The ball hitting his hand. Have you noticed that? Have the coaches noticed that? It's sounding different?
Tony's the strongest one in that room. But, CJ's 240 pounds. He's a big man. He really is. He's a big guy, and so he does. He's got heavy hands. He's only going to continue to get stronger too. But he does. He has the ability to be a plus blocker for sure.
Heavy hands, a positive.
Oh yeah, yep.
Jay, anything else for Coach?
Well, I'm talking about heavy hands when you block. Not he catches the ball well. All right, thank y'all.